Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today I'm doing 3 looks with the Too Faced chocolate bar for you. So if you don't already know, this is my least favorite Too Faced eyeshadow palette. I am not a big fan of this, even though everybody is raving about this all the time. This is definitely an OG. If you watch anyone's videos, everybody's like, oh, this was my go-to palette. This is one of the last chocolate bars I purchased, and I only purchased it really to complete the set. This didn't really appeal to me, and the reason for it is it's a little bit dark. I already know that this palette is very limited in what it can do for me, and that's why I thought, maybe it would be fun to show you what it actually does for me so you can sort of see that for yourself, how this works on someone with very fair skin. And a lot of people also wanted to see 3 looks with this palette. I put a poll up for a previous 3 looks, one palette that I did last May, and then the Tribe palette by Juvia is definitely one, but a lot of people were leaving me comments saying, can you please do the chocolate bar next? So that's what we're doing here. This was requested, and if I look a little ratchet, it's because I just came home from the gym. So, but I wanted to film this video. So I already have all of my face makeup done. I'm wearing a very neutral lip that I know will go with anything, so we can just play with some eyeshadow. So here we go. What I'm going to try and do with this palette is try and use every single eyeshadow that is in here across the 3 different looks. So when you put them all together, I will have used every single shade here. So I think I'll just go with sort of the shades right now that I feel work the best for me. So I've zoomed you guys in so that hopefully you can see very well what I'm doing. I definitely have a couple of go-to shades in this palette, and one of them is this one right here, Salted Caramel, and also over here, Milk Chocolate. Those are like my 2 favorite sort of transitioning shades that are in here, and I think I want to keep it quite basic today with some of these shades over here. So I'm going to start off with Salted Caramel. Do you say caramel or caramel? I know that people pronounce that word differently depending on where they live. That's the language nerd in me. I live for those little tidbits of information, but yeah, this shade right here, which I would pronounce as Salted Caramel, but I'm not a native speaker, so I wouldn't know. So I'm just going to be using a fluffy MAC 217, and then I'm going to just windshield wiper motions into the crease. I want to keep this nice and basic. I'm not going anywhere else today, so it's a bit this is sort of like the makeup look that is going to get lost otherwise, because nobody else will see me out today apart from you guys. And now I'm going to use the same shade, but with a different brush. This is the Zoeva 224 Luxe Defined Crease. And that way I can make sure that it's nice and blended. I'm also going to go in with white chocolate a little bit here, just on the brow bone. I don't normally highlight my brow bone anymore, but with this palette, I just kind of want to, because it's such an OG, and one of my OG things to do was to highlight my brow bone. So the thing I struggle with this palette is that there aren't enough shimmery midtones that I can apply to my lid. I'm kind of stuck between these 2. This is already too dark, this is too dark, this barely shows up, this is too dark. Those are all shades I would use to deepen things up. So I'm stuck with a gold or with like a beigey champagne. Both aren't really my favorite. I think I'm going to challenge myself a little bit and just use a little bit of hazelnut on my lid, and then maybe dab a little bit of marzipan in the middle of my lid, just to give it a little bit more dimension. And I just want to blend that a little bit, so I'm going to go in with Salted Caramel again. Now before I dab on a bit of marzipan, I think I actually want to use Cherry Cordial. This is one of my favorite shades in the palette. I really like that shade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a very small angled brush like this, and then smoke this along the upper lash line, just to make it a little bit darker there, to define the eyes a little bit more. So now to make sure that that is nice and sort of a little bit more blended, I'm going to go back into hazelnut and apply my lid shade once more, just to make sure the line is nice and soft. So I think that's pretty because it just adds a little bit of brightness to it, which I feel otherwise it's going to be really dark and smoky, and that's just not really my cup of tea. I'm going to continue on with Cherry Cordial on the lower lash line. I think that will be pretty. I want to take the shade next to it. This is Hot Chocolate, and I'm going to use that and use it to smoke it out the lower lash line a little bit. So there's that, and I think what I may actually want to do as well is take a little bit of Salted Caramel on this, the 228 by Zoeva, the Luxe Crease, and sort of use that to blow out the lower lash line just a little bit more. And then the only thing that we have left is our inner corner highlight, and actually Strawberry Bonbon is my favorite inner corner highlight in this entire palette. So I'm going to be taking a Sigma E30, this is a little pencil brush, and I'm going to apply this really nice bright pink shade as an inner corner highlight. So there you have the first look with the chocolate bonbons. Let me apply mascara. So that is look number 1 with the Too Faced chocolate bar. That is one that I like to do. It's like a soft, really sultry eye. This palette just looks really sultry and really sort of smoky on me because it's so dark. So I will be back in a minute with look number 2. Welcome to the second look we will be doing with the chocolate bar palette. And today the light is going in and out a lot because it's quite cloudy. So I hope the lighting is okay in the video, but there's nothing I can do about that. And unfortunately, I cannot control whether there are clouds or not. So I do apologize in advance if you find that annoying. So for this look, I don't want to focus on the same side as I did before. So the first look was aiming to use as many of these. Today, I want to use some of these a lot more. So you will see what I mean with this being quite dark and smoky. So let's zoom you in. So I'm going to get started with milk chocolate because that seems to be a good transition in this part of the palette. So that is milk chocolate, and while this looks quite light in the pan actually, I feel it translates quite deep on my complexion. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, but I'm also going to pull in a little bit of Black Forest Truffle, which is this shade right here, and I'm sort of going to put that in my outer V, and then I'll probably need a little bit more of milk chocolate to sort of blend that out. Now I'm going to take the shade Amaretto and I'm going to be using that on the lower lash line. These two shades, this one and that one, look very similar on my complexion, I feel. So that's why I want to use this on the lower lash line. Because if I put them next to each other, it's just going to look like one thing. And I'm not sure why I don't normally do this, but I also want to finish off the lower lash line and go in with a little bit of Candied Violet. This is a very sheer shade, and I feel that only if you use a very dense smudger brush like this will it really translate well on the eyes. I mainly use that shade to do a bit of a lower lash line pop of color. So that's what I want to do today. So then you have a little bit more color, a little bit more oomph. And then for the lid, I actually want to go in with Creme Brulee, which is a nice gold shade. I'm not a big fan of gold eyeshadow, but I think this works quite okay. And I really feel there are only 2 lid shades in this palette, and Creme Brulee is one of them. I'm gonna go back in with Black Forest Truffle because I feel I've lost that a little bit. And to finish off the eyeshadow, I'm going to be using this Champagne Truffle shade, which is a really pretty inner corner highlight. So I'm going to be using that to highlight the inner corner. And then I think I do want to blend the edges a little bit to have a little bit of white chocolate on the brow bone, but I'm not going to go in with a very intense brush. Let me see what would be a nice one. Yeah, I'm going to be using a taper blending brush by Bougie Shop, just to give this a bit more of a blend. And this is just a light creamy shade, so this works really well for that. I'm going to be applying mascara and then I'll be right back. So there you have it. That would be look number 2 using the Too Faced chocolate bar. I went in with some of the purples and the golds, and as you can see, this is just another smoky eye on me anyways. This is not very like light neutral every day. This is quite sultry, quite dark, but we haven't used every single shade in the palette yet. So let's just move on to look number 3, where I will be using some of the remainder shades that I haven't put on my face yet. Here we go. And I'm back with look number 3 with the Too Faced chocolate bar. And we still have quite a few dark shades left that I haven't used. So I'm going to definitely be pulling in these two on the far end. I think I want to do this in the crease with a little bit of this semi-sweet shade, and then marzipan, I always think it's called marshmallow, marzipan all over the lid, and maybe white chocolate in the inner corner. And I believe that if I've done that, I will have used every single shade that is in this palette. So here we go. So I think I just want to start off a little bit easy and go in with semi-sweet, which I think is the nicest one out of these to work as a transition on me. So I really tried to diffuse that shade as much as I could so it's not too dark. I like this as a bit of a crease shade actually, but I'm going to deepen it up with a little bit of that burgundy, which is called Cherry Cordial. And now just to make sure I get a really good blend, I'm going to go in with a little bit of milk chocolate on a very wispy Zoeva brush. So now we have a burgundy sort of very smoky crease going on, and I actually want to not do much with the outer V. I just want to go straight in to the lid, which I was going to use marzipan for. So let's get that shade onto the lid. Because now we're going to deepen up the lid a little bit more along the lash line with a angled brush and a little bit of triple fudge, which I'm going to be using as liner, which a shade this dark only ever really works on me as an eyeliner. I can't really do anything else with it. So that way we have that down, and then the last shade that I still have to use is this one. This is Gilded Ganache, and it has like a green tinge to it, so I love using that on the lower lash line. So I'm just going to be using my Sephora smudger brush for that. And now I want to go in with my Essence Smoky Eye brush to smoke this out a little bit as well. And then last but not least, because I don't really want to take away from the shimmer that's on the lid, I'm going to be using the white chocolate shade, which is a matte cream, which I've used on my brow bone before, but I sometimes like using a matte highlight in the inner corner if I have quite a bit of shimmer going on. Now I want to intense the shimmer of marzipan a little bit, so I'm going to go in with my finger. It also tones down the liner a little bit. And now I'm going to be applying mascara, so I'll be right back. So there you have the third and final look with the Too Faced chocolate bar. As I mentioned in my intro, this palette is incredibly dark on me. I feel that every look I do with this ends up looking the same, dark. Sure, I've used different shades, and this is definitely, like, you can make it look a little bit more vibrant, but I definitely feel I need to work pretty hard with this palette to make it work for me. What I very often see a lot of people do with palettes like this is that they have like 3 or 4 favorite shades that they go into time and time again, and they sort of ignore the rest of the palette. And I'm not about that kind of life. I really want to be able to use every single shade in a palette for it to be my favorite and for it to be my go-to palette. I definitely want to be able to make use of 90% of what's in here, and that's definitely not the case for me. My favorites are definitely like these 6 shades here in the bottom. Everything else in here, like I do like those purples, and this cherry cordial shade I would definitely get a lot more use out of as well if I were to like stick to this palette only, because that's a nice burgundy shade, but I do feel that everything turns quite smoky on me. So that's not something I'm totally down with. But yeah, it's pretty, it's neutral. I can see why people like it, but it's just not my favorite. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope this fulfilled your expectations when you were asking me to do 3 looks with this palette. I would really, really love to know. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. That would help me out as well. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more by me. I have more eyeshadow content coming your way all throughout the month of August. We still have a couple of videos to go, including an eyeshadow palette collection, so stay tuned for that. I hope to see you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye!